Shawn Seesahai's father says he thinks of this moment every time he shuts his eyes. Shawn, walking with a friend towards this bench, completely unaware that the two 12-year-old boys sitting on it would have any interest in him, that one of them had a machete. Unthinkable. Whatever Shawn felt in the moment that the boys chased, tackled, then stabbed him will never be known to the family, and that's their lifelong torture.
Shawn came to the UK for treatment for his eyesight and to improve his education. He was adored and loved by his family, and as a young man aged 19, his whole future was ahead of him.
At 6:41 on a November evening last year, Shawn wandered into a shop with his friend just before heading to the park. That's where they asked two boys sat on a bench to move. That innocuous encounter ended in Shawn being struck with this machete on his back, legs and skull. His stab wound was so deep, it almost went through his entire body. Today, Shawn's family reacted to the sentencing and acknowledged wider troubles.
Whilst they recognise that 3 young lives have been destroyed, they alone have lost their son forever, and they do not feel that the sentence reflects the loss they have suffered daily since their son was murdered. They feel that if low sentences are given, it will not deter others from carrying knives. This is now a social crisis. Children carrying knives must be addressed by everyone, so Shawn's life was not taken in vain. It takes a village to raise a child.
Here's one of the defendants with the machete in his trousers the night before Shawn was killed. He cleaned the weapon with bleach and hid it under his bed after the murder. He'd passed it round his friends in the park to have a hold just before the attack. But did this happen solely because of a spat over a bench? No. The court heard that the boy habitually carried a knife, and that he'd been groomed, exploited and trafficked by older men in the community. Despite the boy's grandmother, his sole carer, trying her best, the vulnerable boy was left under the control of malign influences. The other boy was described as having an unfortunate history, with time spent living in a refuge. But despite the challenges he faced, it was revealed he'd once been awarded Student of the Year at school. His prospects of rehabilitation were described by his barrister as excellent.
Good evening. Within 24 hours of the conviction of the two 11-year-olds who murdered James Bulger, a row has broken out.
The James Bulger case horrified Britain. Robert Thompson and John Venables were 11 when they were convicted of murder. And the two boys who killed Shawn are the youngest murderers since this case in 1993. This programme has revealed an alarming rise in the number of 12 to 17-year-olds being convicted of murder. Understandably, people are shocked by the ages of these two boys. In your line of work, is it unusual to hear of a 12-year-old or under even carrying a knife?
It's not unusual. We've had referrals for young people as young as 10 to our caseload. We have to acknowledge that there is a culture of grooming within kind of gangs, county lines and so forth. And often for some people that's normalised, and for those who are involved in it, they may not even recognise it as grooming. So I think it's really important for us to use the language and name it for what it is. We have to think about what support is around for them in terms of early intervention.
In her sentencing, the judge addressed each boy individually. "You've been used by other people," she said to the boy who had been exploited and groomed. "You don't understand the impact these experiences have had on you." Then she carried on. "You're now settled where you're living. You have stability and routine in your life." stability and routine in youth detention, where the two boys will stay until they're 20 years old. Shawn, of course, will not get to pursue his dream of becoming an engineer. He was attacked randomly, swallowed into a relentless cycle of violence that his family call Britain's social crisis.